right, everybody, welcome to the Work Hard, Play Hard podcast. I am your host, Ryan Harding, and we're here for another episode. We have Kenya Arnett here with us, and excited to get to know her a little bit. She is been in the industry for about 4 years now, and she started by kind of getting into investing, right? And then got her license, and she's been doing it now for 4 years. She's done over $70 million in volume. She owns several properties. I think 9 is what you just told me, right? So a lot of. I mean, she's a big believer in real estate, which I love. I myself am also in that boat, and it's just a good way to build wealth slowly, and I think that's what a lot of people need right now, So anyhow, let's get to know you, Kenya. Tell us about yourself. Who is Kenya?
Great.
So
okay, integrity-wise, if I could jump in, I might have misspoke earlier. 70 million is not my production, unfortunately.
Gotcha. Okay.
I've done over 70 transactions.
Gotcha. Okay. Perfect.
So just to be fair, I'm not going to try to glow up.
No, you're good.
Be bigger than I am.
Yeah, you're good.
But anyway, I'm Kenya Arnett. I am obviously a real estate agent with Keller Williams. I am originally from Payson, Utah, born and raised here in Utah.
Nice.
And I went to the University of Utah, so go Utes. Big Utah fan over here.
Good.
And I'm a wife and mother to 4 little children. I've got 4, our ages 6, 5, 3, and 1.
Okay, so young family. Yeah.
Yes, young family, and we stay busy.
Yeah, I bet you do. Yeah, those are the harder years, as far as diapers and kind of in the thick of it, right?
Yeah, we're seeing a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yes.
When they start doing some things for themselves.
Which is nice. Is nice. Oldest girls or boys?
We have boy, girl, boy. Okay. So
okay.
One responsible one.
Yeah. One. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's the rest. Yeah. Good. I like it. Well. Okay. So tell us. Obviously, I kind of alluded to this a little bit, but I'm sure there's more to this. Tell me how you kind of got into real estate here. So obviously, investing is kind of where some of that happened, but go ahead.
I'll try to keep the story a little bit short, but essentially, my husband and I were both working normal W-2 jobs, and we had a child, our first child, and we realized that it is really hard to balance having a family and kids, and we were rushing to daycare, and I was pumping all day and rushing back and trying to pick up the kids and start life all over the very next day, and we're like, this just can't be it. So I started looking for opportunities to increase our income without having to give up more time. And as you can imagine, inevitably, I ended up learning about real estate as one of the great vehicles for that. So we started researching and decided, honestly, I read a book that it was something like a real estate for dummies, beginners real estate book. And it actually planted the seed of the very, very first chapter, first page, that everyone always wants to buy real estate. They always say they wish they would have done it 5 years ago. And they still haven't. And so it said, start with the goal to just do it. Make your first purchase in the next 12 weeks.
Nice. Okay.
And that kind of hit me hard. I was like, 12 weeks, which mind you, I think I was 25 weeks pregnant at this moment with our second child. Our first one was still 10 months old. So it was not necessarily a convenient time to just up and buy a house and move ourselves, which was the strategy that we used, but we did it. So we turned the home that we were currently living in into a rental, and we bought another one, moved into it. And then we serial repeated that several times. So that was how our minds opened up to real estate. And eventually, through investment, I had partnered with a big flipper, and we were helping people to flip their own homes and then wanting to represent them as their agent. So that's what drove me to get my license.
Gotcha. And you've been enjoying it ever since?
Absolutely. I love it. It's what I eat, sleep, breathe every single day.
Yeah, that's awesome. And these properties that you have, some people want to know, hey, do I have to, let's keep talking about investing for a little bit, but do you manage them yourself? Do you have a property management company? And then how did you decide on what you chose?
So initially, I managed everything myself. They're here in Utah. I knew the homes. I lived in them. So it was pretty straightforward, easy. I say that like it's just simple, but behind that was hours and hours of listening to podcasts, reading books, and following forums. I really did a lot of research to understand those details. then I do have a property manager, but for my out-of-state properties. So I do have 2 properties in Arizona, and those I have managed by somebody else because it's not realistic to do it myself.
Gotcha. Okay. But the ones here you do yourself then?
Yep, I do it.
Okay.
Yep.
Awesome. And that's been going well? No problems there?
Yeah. Oh, well, I mean, problems are always there, but you just...
Well, that's true.
We don't pretend that they're not there, but we expect them and we prepare for them. So.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And you're not out cleaning toilets yourself, or not, I guess changing plumbing, stuff like that?
In the very beginning, I would take pride in that because it was fun.
Yeah.
It was fun when you didn't have a million other things you had to do
like
at the same time.
Kids, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we did, pull out YouTube and figure out how to fix things when we had a geyser in the bathroom because the handle broke off, and we replaced it ourselves. So we would get in and do that, but when it became impractical, of course, we just prepare by having a plumber's number handy.
Yeah. Well, so why do you like real estate as an investment? What I mean, in your opinion, why should people invest in real estate?
I have a long list of
Okay,
that.
let's hear it. Yeah.
I have a long list. I actually just taught an hour class on this last week.
Oh, nice.
So one that we can start with is it's leverageable.
Okay.
You can use other people's money to buy that asset.
Yeah.
I don't know of any, well, there probably are some asset classes, but the ones that come to mind, you can't buy with other people's money. You can't go buy Amazon stock for, $500,000 and only put, $25,000 down. Like, that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Another thing, it's very versatile. So, there are many different ways to invest in real estate, maybe that fit different personalities better. One of the main reasons would be great returns, and you see those returns in multiple different ways. You've got and I focus primarily on long-term, obviously. But in a long-term real estate situation, you got cash flow, you have depreciation, you have appreciation, and you have a loan pay down. Someone's paying your loan, and they're paying off your debts for you, essentially. And then also, it's relatively safe. So, there are companies, businesses are built around solving problems, and sometimes those problems kind of go out of style, where it's no longer a problem in those businesses unless they pivot and change, they don't succeed. Living in houses really isn't going out of style, and I don't see that happening anytime soon either. No. I know that there are the mini homes, you can make an argument, but I don't know. I don't think it's a strong enough argument. It's still a home. I don't know what the lending situation is on that, but anyway. Homes are really safe, and also because there's different ways that you can invest in real estate, there are many exit strategies. So for example, if you're going to be a flipper and you're going to go flip a house and then something happens and the numbers don't make sense anymore, assuming you put the right pieces in place, you can turn it into a rental. So maybe if your original plan fails, there's always there's always something that you can do.
I love that. No, those going back to one of those things you said, for those that maybe don't understand this, you mentioned appreciation and depreciation in the same sentence. So it's like, whoa, wait, that seems like opposites, right? Shouldn't that only be either or?
It is the most beautiful opposite thing in the world.
That's right. Okay, so elaborate on that. Tell me about that.
Well, obviously, we look over the long-term trajectory or long-term history of values. They're always going up. Yes, we see times of dips, and that's especially in the most recent recession that's on everyone's minds. We do see values go down, but generally speaking, over the long term, they're going up. The exciting thing about depreciation is that on your accountant's books, the value of your property is going down. It's an asset, and we're not talking about the actual real estate, the land, but the building is depreciating. So you're actually depreciating over a 27.5-year period, and there are some other options, but we won't get too complicated here.
Keep it simple.
Generally, 27.5 years, you're depreciating your home or your investment, not necessarily your primary, over that period, which is decreasing your debt, your tax liability.
Gotcha. So even though it's actually going up in value, you're still able to write off that part, right? Which obviously saves you on income taxes and stuff like that.
And you think of how many, you multiply that by multiple properties, and that really is going to greatly reduce your tax liability every year.
Well, go back to your example of Amazon. Can't do that with Amazon.
Exactly.
Right?
And the other one that I didn't mention on here that I think is important as far as why to invest in real estate, you can control it. You have an ability to directly impact the success or the failure. So you have to have a little confidence in yourself here, but you can directly impact that, and you can also force appreciation. So you could buy a property under market value, which again, you're not going to buy Amazon stock for under market value.
Sure. Yep.
And you can put $20,000 in it and potentially make $100,000 or $200,000 of forced appreciation.
Sure.
So that ability to control, and if you're a control freak like me, that's fantastic.
It's great,
it's
right?
So nice to be able to control your asset.
Yeah. I love that. Another good reason for real estate, right? Versus, it's a tangible thing you can see, you can touch, right?
Yeah. And it's unlimited.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I was really adamant about acquiring some properties. I mean, I say adamant. It still took me like this 1 to 2 year pace because we were poor and we had 4 kids.
Yeah.
But the sky's the limit, and people that jump in and want to do this full time as an investor, you can buy as many properties as you can figure out the equation to do so.
Sure.
And so there's no limit on your ability to build wealth or income.
Gotcha. Love it. Talk to me about kind of switching gears a little bit. What's one lesson you've learned in life, I guess, that you think everyone should know?
I've got probably 3 answers to that, but they all probably touch on the same thing.
Okay.
Number 1, everything is figure-outable.
Okay.
If there is a problem, there's a solution. What else did I come up with here? Oh, big is not bad. This is one I get from Gary Keller, the founder of Keller Williams.
Yeah.
I think I maybe grew up with a small mind and didn't realize the potential of what's out there. And sometimes there's a negative connotation with building big businesses or having lots of money. And I think the breakthrough that it's been more recent for me is that big is not bad, and that building a big business is a great thing. So big thinking is good. And then the last thing, what was the third one I was going to touch on here? Live while you're alive.
Okay, I like that. What does that mean? Tell me.
To me, that means, sometimes you're like, oh, I'd like to do that, or that would be nice, but it's like, guys, we get one life. Like, let's live it. Or like, go on vacation. Like, do what. And that's a hard one for me. As like kind of a workaholic who's passionate about what I do. It's hard to stop and take a breather. But if there's something you want to do, you got to do it now. Take the risk. Just live. Chance it.
Well, I totally agree with that. I've seen that sometimes in a sad way, sometimes where something happens and that person can no longer do whatever they wanted to do, right? Wanted to have kids, my spouse died or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And now it's like, well, we were going to have kids, it's like, well.
Yeah. I think we're just taught sometimes out of love and careness to just be careful and live cautiously. And I don't know, there's a balance, there's a place for that.
Of course.
But I think that there's just so much more to be had in life, and we can live a big life that is a good thing.
Yeah.
So I think really all those 3 things really just kind of, to me, that's an abundance mentality.
Yeah.
Right? Just everything's figure-outable, live while you're living, like, I don't know. It's abundance mentality. I think that having an abundance mentality really, pushes us forward.
So I guess on that note, is there something, that you've learned about yourself that you kind of wish, hey, I wish I, or that you're working on and trying to be better and stuff like that?
I'm always trying to be better. Maybe
I can tell.
Fault.
Yes, no, you're good. Yeah.
Maybe to a fault. I have lots of areas to improve, and I think especially the live while you're alive. That's probably a newer one where I'm having to stop. I mean, what's in me right now is I just went to Hawaii,
Nice.
which was like a impromptu because we live for a living. Oh yeah, I canceled this first.
That's right.
Because
That's
we went
right.
to Hawaii.
You were like, hey, I just decided to go to Hawaii.
Exactly.
So you are living what you said, I guess, right?
I'm living it, but that was also the reminder that like when an opportunity comes, take it. Like it was something that just kind of a friend invested in real estate because I couldn't stop telling them to invest in real estate, and they bought an Airbnb, and we got to go for the inaugural stay. And anyway,
Nice.
But that being out there, it just reminded me, like, why do I not do this more often? Like, let's go and enjoy. So
Love that.
So yeah, there's a place for building wealth or building a business or working really hard, but there's work hard. Yeah, your whole motto, work hard.
That's right. That's right.
But play hard.
But you also got to play hard too. And I'm like you. I know the mottos. I know the things. Living that is sometimes hard. Right.
Absolutely.
Sometimes I tend to just get into work mode and just work, and it's like, nah, you're right. I did take a trip to Hawaii. I need to do this or whatever. Right.
There's a reason that we work hard, and when we lose sight of that, then we're working for
Agreed.
a good reason.
Agreed. Yeah. No. And so it's again easy to know and understand, but to practice is another. I guess that's part of what life is, right? So
100%.
Well, okay, so obviously you're a real estate agent, you've been doing well and stuff like that. Tell us kind of what separates you from other agents and stuff like that.
So when it comes to being a real estate agent, it's a very complex job.
Yeah.
So I think the way that I stand out is being well-rounded.
Okay.
You have to be, I think,
Sure.
to succeed in real estate. I think one thing is I'm 100% in real estate. So it's not a side gig. It's not something I just do for fun.
Sure.
Like I said earlier, I eat, breathe real estate all day long.
Yeah.
My husband's in real estate. He's an appraiser, and we invest together. So the topic of conversation all day, every day is real estate. So with that comes this passion that I spend a lot of time researching and understanding the market. I understand the contracts and transactions inside and out. And in addition to that, which was probably what I should have led with, for me, the client comes first.
Okay.
So I'm a little bit of a perfectionist when it comes to the customer service thing. I was just chatting with my assistant about this earlier. When I get bad service somewhere, I'm always appalled.
Yeah.
Like, why? Why are you in business?
Yeah.
Why are you in business if
Just
you're
do
not
it the right
here
way,
to provide the service? So I think that's something that is really important that we don't always see in this industry, is just making sure the client is first, and then again, just the knowledge, the well-roundedness of understanding real estate, the numbers. I will admit, if I'm lacking anything, it's that I'm not as fanatical about how cute houses are.
Sure.
And so the design side of staging, I hire those things out because
Gotcha.
that's not my thing.
You're more the business minded.
I'm the business mind behind
Yep.
it, but I'm also personable, and relationships are important to me.
Sure.
They're very important. So making sure my clients feel comfortable, that they understand the process, that they know that I've got their back. I think that well-roundedness, again, it's a little bit of everything.
Sure. Well, you said a couple things, so I want to kind of circle back, I guess, to investing. So you mentioned your husband's an appraiser. Obviously, you're in real estate. And so somebody might say, well, okay, sure, that's why she owns a bunch of properties, because, she's got all these tools at her disposal, right? So but what about me? I'm I don't know, pick a profession, I guess. I'm a fireman, or nurse, or something like that. And I'm not business minded, right? I don't understand these things. So would that be too much of a risk for me to get into real estate, kind of thing? Because that's kind of scary. I don't have an appraiser husband, right?
Right.
Kind of thing.
That's a really, really good point. And I do have to point to the fact that when I started this, I was in that same boat. I had a full-time job. I worked at the University of Utah, and my husband was in marketing.
Yeah.
So neither of us had this background either.
Sure.
But the resources are plentiful.
Okay.
And if anyone wants to reach out to me, I would be more than happy to point to all of the resources that I have used that have been really helpful to me. And in addition to that, if you're the investor and you come to me, you don't have to worry about all those things, because I do, and I'll guide you through it, and I'll help you understand what you're getting yourself into. And so you can another Gary Kellerism. When you stand on the shoulders of giants, you see further. So
Gotcha.
I'm happy to be that giant for anyone, given all of the hours that I've already dedicated to learning and absorbing this information.
Okay. So what you're saying is, hey, they can learn it. They don't have to learn it, if they want to learn on their own. But either way, they have you as an expert, I guess, that they can use, right?
Absolutely.
To try to do this, right? And so, and I think most people agree that we can only be experts in so many things, right?
Exactly.
And so I can be really good at loans, right? And not understand, title or real estate as much. But hey, I know loans, right? And so that's why you have different experts and stuff like that in different fields, because you can't know everything about everything, right?
It's great to be aware, globally aware of what's going on, but then rely on the specialists. It was fun for me to figure out how to replace a broken, faucet and the plumbing issue. It was fun, and now when a plumber calls me and is talking to me, which is currently a situation I'm dealing with, I'm like, oh, okay, I know what you're talking about.
Gotcha.
So that's the way, I think that's kind of my style when working with clients as well. I want them to be informed and understand. And unless they just don't want to, and I'm like, okay, I'll just take the lead.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I'm like, let me explain to you, here's the situation, here's what I think you should do.
Yeah.
I don't ever want them to feel like it's, just trust me.
Yeah.
Just trust me, I'll just take care of it.
Sure. Okay.
Unless that's really what they want.
Yeah, no, I like that. Well, okay, so advice and stuff like that, obviously, kind of talking about the market and talking about different people's, what advice would you have and I'll kind of list off a couple of places, but let's start with like new home buyers right now. What advice do you have for those that are just entering the market, buying their first home? What advice do you have for them?
Well, first of all, congratulations, and you are so smart to be thinking to buy your first home. My first advice is always buy as soon as you can.
Okay.
That doesn't mean buy before you can afford it, but buy as soon as you can. So I would, if you're even years down the road from considering buying, I would be reaching out to the Harding team and finding out what it would take, what targets do they need to be aiming at so that they're prepared to buy. That's really my first piece of advice.
Okay.
And then secondly, honestly, it is getting a good agent because everyone's situation is so different. Blanket advice is a little bit hard, but I would buy on the path of growth. If you're looking for appreciation, that's why I conditioned it. What are you looking for? Are you looking to grow wealth? Because if you're looking to grow wealth, which is usually where my mind is at, is buy in the path of growth, because your home will grow in appreciation. Right now, I would say, the market is potentially leveling out, so I would say buy somewhere that you are okay with living for a few years.
Okay.
And also, don't be so picky in this first home.
Sure.
Because even though, what was the statistic? It was like 80 or 90% of first-time home buyers think that they're going to live in that home for 10 plus years. Yeah. And I think it's like 40% actually do. Yeah. So chances are you're going to move in the next few years. Your life circumstances, which is the primary reason that you move, your life circumstances are going to change, and you're probably going to buy somewhere else. So
that's great advice. Yeah, no. What about to sellers, those that are, hey, I already own a home. I've noticed the market's, softening a little bit. It's still a good time to sell. What's your thoughts there?
Yes, the first piece of advice is to adapt to the market, reset your expectations. We're not selling homes as frequently, just over the weekend with 20 offers like we were in the peak of insanity. So readjust those expectations, but if we're looking at the market as a whole and we're looking at the big history, now is a great time to sell. Okay. It really is, because especially here in Utah, the supply demand is still very unbalanced. It's becoming a little bit more balanced, and I would almost argue artificially more balanced, because we know that there are buyers, there are people who want to own homes, and so that demand is real and still exists. The shock right now of people getting readjusted to the expectation of interest rates has caused people to take a pause. Okay. And we'll see where things go. But I shouldn't make predictions here.
Hey, love it. Let's do it. What's your prediction here? Let's hear it.
I'm just envisioning this pent-up demand, because we know there are buyers out there. We all had 100 of them calling us last year that we couldn't keep up with, and now it's gotten quieter. We know that they're out there and they want to buy a house, and that they're just kind of in shock right now of the sudden change in interest rates. And if we are headed into a recession, the feds always have to fight inflation by lowering interest rates. So if I'm allowed to have a prediction,
you are.
I say that hesitantly. Then
we'll just hold you to it.
Exactly. I think when interest rates come back down, that we're going to see that pent-up demand come back raging. Okay.
Because there is still that demand.
There's a shortage. Yeah. I think Ken Gardner, by the way, is a great resource if anyone wants to read up on these types of things. But they study the market, and I don't want to misquote it, whether it was at 30,000. Last year they were saying we were 44,000 housing units short, and we've made some progress, and we're like 30,000, I think, was the most recent one that came out this week. Yeah. So
still well behind what we need as far as homes. Yeah. So there's still,
We'll continue to grow. Our population growth has steadily been growing. I think we now compete with Boise, but prior to them blowing up, we were the number one for the last 10 or the previous 10 years of population growth in the state and the nation.
What about those that are saying, hey, well, okay, yeah, I do want to buy. I can't find anything out there, so I'm going to build a home, right? But that's maybe 6 months, 8 months, maybe a year out still. And I've started noticing they're lowering prices too a little bit. So should I just wait? Because should I wait till they lower prices? Should I do it now? Thoughts on that?
Yeah, this is another prediction question, which I'm always a little bit hesitant to throw out those predictions, but I personally don't see a huge drop in prices. I mean, I've seen some people, and I think that's more out of desperation because everyone was expecting to continue on the trajectory that we were. And so those that are now suddenly stuck, and especially builders with a lot more inventory and holding costs, they're more incentivized to do a sudden drop in prices. So I think that that's expected for right now's market.
Sure.
But again, we have enough demand that I don't think that it's necessary for that behavior to sustain. Okay. So I would say if you're able to wrap something under contract right now at a dropped price, let's do it. I wouldn't wait. I would get it under contract. And my outlook is that the prices are going to continue to slowly increase.
Okay. No, perfect. That's good. It's good advice. And I know a lot of people are wondering right now, right? Hey, the market, because it is this shock, I think is the best, word for, this thing that has happened with the market, right? And so, is this what it's going to continue to do? People are trying to figure things out right now, right? But I think there's a lot of demand there still.
Yeah.
And obviously we haven't fixed the supply issue yet either. So, any favorite stories from working in the industry?
Oh man, my favorite stories are the underdog stories.
Okay.
So I have two that come straight to mind. One was an immigrant situation. Okay. I served a mission in Uruguay for my church, and so I have some Uruguayan connections. So I've worked with a lot of people from Uruguay. Anyway, immigrants from Uruguay, they came here in like a matter of 5 years, saved up enough money to have a down payment on a house. They saw the market going crazy high and were able to jump in and get something. And they had saved a ridiculous amount of money. I had never even had that much money.
You're like, wow, good job, guys.
How did you do that? How did you save this money? And they had very unfavorable loan terms because of their situation. Sure. And they... I guess, I don't know if there's really a climax to the story, then they freaking did it. They bought a house and they proved the American dream. The opportunity is here, and that if you work hard, and I mean, they had to work really hard, and they had small young kids as well, and they were working around the clock, one leaving while the other came back and watched the kids, and taking turns working and being with their children. And I just think, man, if these people can come here with basically nothing, literally their bags, and that's it, and save up enough money to buy a house in the craziest market that we've ever seen, because it was just in 2021. There is no reason why people who are born here in the United States and who have every opportunity available to them in education and resources, there's no reason that they can't attain the American dream. So I just look up to immigrants so much. So many of the business owners that see opportunity here and take advantage of it.
I agree. No, and a lot of times they are very hard workers, right? That gratitude is in them, right? That maybe and sometimes when we're here,
and
humility, exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's exactly it. So, which that's we have to practice that a little bit more, I guess. When this is just what we grew up in, right? It's like, oh yeah, this,
we just the opportunity has been all around us for so long, we're almost deaf to it. Sure. We don't see it, we don't hear it. Yeah. But it's there, and they come and they're like, oh my gosh, what is this? Yeah. I'm gonna make something out of this.
Yes. No. Agreed.
So. Those are my favorites.
I love that. Any as kind of we wrapping up here, any things we haven't hit, and I know you got some notes there and stuff like that. So any things we didn't hit that you wanted to touch on before we kind of wrap things up?
You know what? No, I don't think so. I think that kind of hits everything.
Okay. Well, then I guess maybe kind of a last question is how, most of your business, how do you get most of your business, and how can people contact you, if they'd like to get in touch with you?
The vast majority of my business comes from what we call SOI, sphere of influence. Okay. So people that I have worked with in past, work situations, friends, family, neighbors, and now that I've been in the business about 4 years, I'm starting to see a lot more return clients and referral business under my belt. So I am always happy to work with anybody. You don't have to be in my sphere of influence, and I understand the investment side, so I'm happy to work on the investment side, but I'm also just happy to help a family get a home.
Gotcha.
Against the odds. So you can find me on I mean, I'm on Instagram at Kenya. Oh shoot, I should know this.
You're good.
What is it? At home with Kenya. Right.
There we
That's
go.
what it was. At home with Kenya, Realtor, Utah. I think. Shoot, just look up Kenya Arnett.
We'll throw a link in some of these things too. So,
yeah.
but yeah.
So, and I'm on Facebook, but I'm pretty easy to find. I don't think there are very many Kenyas. Actually, I met one recently, but there aren't very many Kenyas, but especially Kenya Arnett's.
Perfect. Okay. Well, Kenya, thanks for coming on. Obviously, that's awesome what you've done. You've accomplished a lot. You're still young, so I expect many more things to be accomplished, right? So, but 4 kids and a bunch of properties, and obviously a great career. I mean, you've done very well. So, so good job. It's good to get to know you a little bit.
Yeah,
so,
thank you. I appreciate the opportunity. It's been fun.
Yeah. Thanks everybody for listening. Like and subscribe on wherever you get your podcast from, and we'll see you next week. Thanks.